We need to talk about Windows because this has strong implications on what the next-gen Xbox experience might be like. Because rumor has it that the next-gen Xbox won't be a traditional console, but rather a PC console hybrid, very much akin to Steam Machine, except Steam Machine beat them to that race. But it'll ultimately come down to what the user experience is like. And SteamOS has proven itself pretty handily, and so people are excited about the prospect of a PC console hybrid designed around that operating system. Whereas with Windows, that has always proven to be a friction point when it comes to like a dedicated gaming experience with all the like updates that you have to go through to set it up, with just Windows not being strictly built for that. It's why a lot of handhelds that are very powerful that run Windows, the one thing that people cite is often that Windows is getting in the way. And it feels like if Microsoft wants to succeed with this next-gen Xbox, they really have to nail Windows. But prospects surrounding that currently aren't looking great, given all of the recent qualms surrounding Windows and the way it's been handled and the way it's been programmed. Really spotlighting what I'm talking about is the ROG Xbox Ally X experience, which Sarah Bond, who is the current head of Xbox, has come out and said that the next-gen Xbox console will be a premium and high-end curated experience. You're starting to see some of the thinking we have in this handheld, but I don't want to give it all away. The handheld referring to the ROG Xbox Ally X, which ultimately is just a PC with like an Xbox overlay on top. And what that means is that unlike a traditional console, which were specifically designed to make getting into your games as intuitive as possible, system updates as intuitive as possible, things like pause and resume as intuitive as possible, there are just a lot of issues as highlighted in this review, for example, where there's just a lot of time wasted trying to wrestle with Windows, just booting up the device and setting it up and having all of the drivers updated and whatnot. That by itself just took hours for people to finally be able to delve into the Xbox ROG Ally X at its full capacity. Not to mention that it's generally known that SteamOS tends to run games better than Windows because the way it allocates resources specifically for gaming is just much more efficient. And so the big question for the next-gen Xbox is how Microsoft intends to enhance Windows to tailor it to an experience where it feels as seamless as a traditional console or seamless as SteamOS when it comes to engaging with it as a gaming device. But with the next-gen Xbox almost certainly being a PC console hybrid, what is certain is that it will use Windows, more specifically the most recent iteration of it, Windows 11, which has been a point of contention due to the fact that Windows 11 has just been tripping up like left and right. Just over the last month alone, we've been seeing myriad mishaps, like the intended update here that's supposed to speed up the whole user experience and declutter the file explorer in Windows 11. There's an article from November 24th, 2025. What people discovered was that Microsoft used a pretty half-assed solution. Twitter user Windows Latest highlighted it best. Microsoft admits File Explorer is slow in Windows 11, and it's going to preload it in the background to help improve launch performance. So instead of fixing the issue, they're just preloading the issue, but the inefficiencies still remain. You can see right here how this post has garnered 11.1 million views because so many people have quote tweeted this and have discussed just what an awful solution this is. Scrolling through the comments section of this post, you'll even find Tim Sweeney, who's the CEO of Epic Games. And, I don't necessarily always agree with this guy, but in this scenario, he's right. De-bloat it, guys. Don't preload the bloat, which garnered, tens of thousands of likes and hundreds of thousands of views. Here's somebody else saying, so stealing more resources in the background instead of just fixing the problem. You're getting quote tweets that are in disbelief at the situation with folks saying it's a folder. It shows files. How do we get to, we have to preload it at login or it takes 4 seconds? What the hell are y'all doing over there? It just feels like such a sloppy and non-solution solution for this particular problem. And checking the quote tweets of the Windows latest post, you'll find people sarcastically and jokingly and mockingly posting things like this screenshot saying, I need to lock in, and it's making sure your computer doesn't automatically update to Windows 11 no matter what. A lot of people just miss Windows 10. Many felt that Microsoft nailed it with that one. And Windows 11 it's going backwards in many ways, especially because of the focus on artificial intelligence. AI being kind of the big fad for corporations, the big gold rush that they're trying to get into as to be the first ones to be able to fully leverage this potential market. What was announced back in November of 2025 is that Microsoft has every intention to turn Windows into an agentic OS, starting with the taskbar, AI agents on the taskbar, Copilot in the File Explorer, and much more. They want to completely AI-fy the entire Windows experience so that you can essentially just talk to your computer and have it do all the things that you would normally do with your keyboard and mouse. That's the whole idea behind it. But people utterly hate that prospect. Since that announcement, all Microsoft has received is backlash. You've got articles like this one from Futurism.com highlighting how Windows users are furious at Microsoft's plan to turn it into an agentic OS. On Reddit, you'll find the kind of feedback we're seeing from enthusiasts, with the technology subreddit having this thread where one of the top comments just simply reads, "Great, how do I disable literally all of it, all the agentic AI features that nobody really asked for? That is just a solution to a problem that doesn't exist." On the official Windows 11 subreddit even, there's plenty of protests, with folks responding to this news by saying, "No thanks, pass, hard pass. I can't wait for all the numerous guys to pop up on how to strip this BS out of the operating system," so on and so forth. Not to mention an entire bucket list of things that Microsoft implemented into Windows against the user's will, just stuff that users didn't want from Windows. That's been a common qualm with Windows, where it feels like they're in their own world trying to do their own thing and aren't really listening to any of the feedback that is being presented. Just a lot of additional hurdles, whether it's the Microsoft account requirement, whether it's the addition of Copilot absolutely everywhere, which is the AI aspect of Windows. The way Microsoft is throwing ads when you're in your lock screen or in the settings app or in the Photos app for certain Microsoft services. They remove certain features, like the fact that once upon a time you could place the taskbar anywhere, but now it is strictly placed at the bottom and you can't change it, so on and so forth. It's both little things and big things that has made people feel like Microsoft has taken Windows backwards rather than forwards. You can see just how negative the response is based on the fact that Pavan Davuluri, who is the president of Windows and Devices at Microsoft, tweeted out how Windows is evolving into an agentic OS, connecting devices, cloud, and AI to unlock intelligent productivity and secure work anywhere, yada, yada, yada. You can see 1.6 million views, and the absolute ratio of this tweet, just 346 likes, but over 1.1 thousand retweets, combined with, over almost 500 comments, and plenty of folks like Jazz here from Windows Central saying, "Who asked for this, bro?" Or, one of the top comments reading, "It's evolving into a product that's driving people to Mac and Linux." Here's one more saying, "Stop this nonsense. No one wants this. You live in a Twitter bubble where AI will create tons of wealth and you will perish unless you adopt it now. But your users are not in this bubble. They don't care about any of this shit." And yeah, just scroll down through this comment section and there's plenty of protests and plenty of posts in complete dissent against this that have far more interactions and likes and whatnot than Pavan's original post here. And aside from the fact that AI is just software clutter, essentially, there's also the fact that all of the promise surrounding AI and the functionalities that it's able to bring to Windows, none of it really works particularly well. None of it works consistently enough where people can deem it to be trustworthy. So for example, right here we have an article published by The Verge on November 18th, 2025, discussing their experience with Windows Copilot AI and all of the Windows AI functionalities and how it made the computer feel incompetent, discussing how Copilot would get commands wrong or how it just wasn't able to interpret the user's intent, or when it presented information, how a lot of that information was actually misinformation. It just doesn't work even on a fundamental level, with The Verge stating here that it can lead you astray on even the basics. All of this focus on this functionality that doesn't really even work, and all the while you're making software more cluttered and less efficient. You're, making things worse for the environment. You're causing DRAM shortages that's jacking up prices for everyone. You're cheapening out on labor and the quality of products and the time and care required to make products good. And all the while you're shipping something that ultimately functions worse than the original thing that it's trying to replace. Now, shortly after the release of that Verge article detailing how AI for Windows is just pretty much dog shit, it just doesn't really work well enough for it to be functional, Mustafa Suleyman, who is the CEO of Microsoft AI, came out with this comment that really made things worse, saying, geez, there's so many cynics. It cracks me up when I hear people call AI underwhelming. I grew up playing Snake on a Nokia phone. The fact that people aren't impressed that we can have a fluent conversation with a super smart AI that can generate any image or video is mind-blowing to me. What a condescending thing to post to the public, implying that people are stupid for not being impressed by AI, how it cracks him up when he hears people call AI underwhelming because they don't know any better. Nobody's saying that AI as a technology isn't impressive. Frankly, it feels like magic. But with great power comes great responsibility. It's not about whether we're impressed with a technology or not. It's about whether we're impressed about how that tool that is very powerful is used, whether it's used in ways that are genuinely beneficial to society or ways that are just ultimately solving a problem that doesn't exist, that ultimately are being ham-fisted into our software and into our day-to-day experience for the sake of corporations trying to make more money. It's impressive technology that is being used in the most exploitative ways or being used in the stupidest ways. That's what we're not impressed by. There have been good uses of AI that we've seen here and there, and that stuff is impressive, and not just the way the technology works, but in the way its ingenuity is actually beneficial. But what Microsoft is doing here by shoving AI Copilot into everything and trying to AI-fy the entire experience, all the while the AI experience just doesn't work what it's supposed to do, which is to make productivity easier, is actually not at all what it's able to do. It doesn't have the capability to do that because it misses more than it hits. That's just a dumb usage of an impressive technology. That's what's being conveyed. Scrolling down to the comments section of Mustafa's post, you'll find folks like Jez saying things like, make AI actually deliver accurate answers more than 30% of the time, and then we'll talk about cynicism. Right now, it just feels like a fad designed to hype up shareholders and actually actively reduces productivity in the real world because AI just doesn't function properly and consistently enough. Here we have another user who I think really put it best. No one is unimpressed by AI as a technology. Yes, it is profoundly impressive. The problem is you're injecting a solution into a problem that doesn't exist. You or your organization or whoever's in charge keeps inserting AI into everything. People do not want that. This is what executives often do. They try to insinuate that they know better, that they see the grand vision, and that the users and the consumers and the customers are stupid and that they have no idea what they're talking about. But ultimately, the customer knows best. We're the ones who actually use the products. We're the ones who actually know whether something has been genuinely beneficial and something we want in our day-to-day life. And right now, with Microsoft and all of its AI bullshit implementation, the general consensus is an overwhelming get that out of my face. Consistently, Windows and its AI implementation and Copilot and whatnot has proven to be more of a nuisance than a benefit. Beyond AI solving a problem that doesn't really exist, beyond it being, resource intensive, beyond the fact that it doesn't really function all that well and doesn't actually offer better productivity. There's also concerns surrounding the way it collects data from people, and there are also privacy concerns like the one highlighted here by Windows Latest when they posted on November 30th, 2025 that Microsoft has admitted AI agents can hallucinate and fall for attacks, but they're still coming to Windows 11. New Salad PC Gamer covered this in this article right here, and scrolling down, you'll find a segment that highlights an example of what could happen. So in other words, quote, you could download, say, a PDF which contains hidden text instructing your Windows agent to execute nefarious tasks. That's what hallucinating means, getting and executing on prompts and commands that weren't given by the user of that device, but rather by nefarious third-party actors. And as of late, Windows has even been messing up little things like this bug right here. Microsoft confirms a Windows 11 bug is accidentally making the password icon invisible on the lock screen login page. The fact that such little things even are areas where Windows can't get its shit together, it just doesn't foster confidence for the future of Windows, and it being the primary operating system of the next-gen Xbox, given that it is a PC console hybrid, it doesn't inspire confidence when it comes to the user experience of this next-gen Xbox console PC. And so yeah, people have been going to town on Windows because of such little mishaps. People saying things like, okay, this is getting absurd, that they forget how to program within 3 months, this garnering, hundreds of thousands of views, tens of thousands of likes. Here's somebody else with similar numbers saying Windows 11's brokenness now covers the login screen, the start menu, the taskbar, and the file explorer. And yes, we've seen reports of broken taskbars, like this one right here from Jabroni Mike, who tweeted, Windows 11 knocked it out of the park again with a recent update and introduced a new game I have to play every day where I need to remember which invisible icon on my taskbar is which while I close the AI Copilot pop-ups that get in the way. And here you can see from the screenshot right here that the taskbar is completely glitched out and that icons that shouldn't be invisible are just invisible. And then there are technical mishaps like this one, where Windows was supposed to introduce improvements to the dark theme of Windows 11, and that was supposed to happen with Windows 11 update KB5070311. But then what people discovered is that when you use dark mode on Windows, the file explorer will show a brief flash of white before going into dark mode. Scrolling down this article, you find a GIF that highlights what that looks like, those brief flashes of white during dark theme that, kind of defeats the whole purpose of using dark theme, which is to not be blinded by all the white pixels. And this is something that's been highlighted en masse on social media, with BobPony.com saying new Windows 11 feature via this update. With dark mode, you get File Explorer flashbang. And yeah, you can see it in this GIF as well, where when they open the File Explorer, there's that brief flash of white before the dark theme kicks in, which can be disorienting to a lot of people. And there's also a topic that's going viral because it feels like with Windows, it's been one incompetent thing after another. Folks going as far as calling for Microsoft to rewrite Explorer entirely, and how this feels a lot like the summation of technical debt. This almost feels like Bethesda and the creation engine and all of that technical debt catching up to them, especially with more modern titles that have the same bugs and issues and glitches and technical limitations that, old Bethesda games did. And yeah, even little things like the start menu and how its search function is completely useless because the top result for typing things like terminal is, the film terminal rather than the actual things you're trying to get to. And that's something that I found myself, where the search function really doesn't know what I actually am searching for. So here's somebody saying the Windows 2025 experience expressed in a single picture. And there's also something that has gone viral. Microsoft and Windows are going viral for all of the wrong reasons. And I'm highlighting all of this because this is what's going into the next-gen Xbox PC console hybrid. Again, the next-gen Xbox will be like the ROG Xbox Ally X. It's going to be at its core a PC that not only games, but you can also do productivity tasks. You can literally hook it up and with a mouse and keyboard and use it like you would with a personal computer. Windows will be at the center of next-gen Xbox, and if recent situations and recent technical mishaps and recent history has proven anything, it's that there's every reason to feel concerned about the next-gen Xbox PC console hybrid utilizing Windows as its main operating system, where something like the Steam Machine with its Steam OS, which has proven itself to be just really well fleshed out and well realized, and something that is just really frictionless as far as gaming is concerned for the most part, and just how far ahead SteamOS feels for gaming compared to something like Windows. I mean, there is a chance that Microsoft might be working on a version of Windows for this next-gen Xbox PC console hybrid that will put it more in line with SteamOS. If they can surprise us with that, then, maybe there's more of a chance for this next-gen Xbox to be competitive. But Microsoft just doesn't have a good track record on that front. And with the next-gen console not being a traditional console, with it not utilizing the more trimmed-down version of Windows that, the Xbox Series consoles utilize, with it being full-fledged Windows, warts and all, the concern is that the user experience will be negatively impacted by just the history of Windows, especially with Windows 11, just not being where people want it to be, with the kinds of feature implementations that are very tone deaf and are not listening to people, are ham-fisted in there, like all of the AI stuff. It feels like all of the bloat and all of the technical debt that Windows has had might end up bleeding into next-gen Xbox, given that it will be very much a Windows PC that also happens to be a gaming device. But I suppose only time will tell. In the meantime, though, this is everything you need to know about the current discourse surrounding Windows and the experience of that operating system and how that might potentially bleed into next-gen Xbox based on what we know about what that next-gen Xbox will be, which is that PC console hybrid experience. I'd love to hear what your thoughts and opinions are in the comments below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.